Hi Year 4, hope you're all well and keeping safe. I've come on to read the next chapter of Ash's class book, and it's called An Awful Accusation. Wonder what that gunfire was. Cass held her breath, unable to move. Had someone been shot? Cass, what's wrong? You're white as a sheet. Grandpa Larry entered, followed by Grandpa Wayne, their arms full of new purchases. What she'd heard wasn't gunfire, only the front door. I thought something happened. Didn't you see your note? Asked Grandpa Larry. There was a garage sale down the street. We couldn't resist. What's with Sebastian? Asked Grandpa Wayne. He looks worse than you. I don't know, admitted Cass. He's been acting weird all day. Only then did Cass notice where Sebastian was standing, right next to the shelf where they'd stored the Symphony of Smells. Cass blinked in surprise. It was gone. Grandpa Larry followed her eyes. What happened to the Symphony of Smells? Did you take it down? No, yes, but I put it back. Well, where is it? I thought we'd agreed we'd only look at it together, said Grandpa Larry, giving her a slightly unreproachful glance. It should be there. This was perfectly true, but somehow it sounded like Cass was lying, even to herself. It wouldn't be with your things by any chance, like in your book bag? Asked Grandpa Wayne. She shook her head, blushing furiously. You know, your eyes are telling a different story, said Grandpa Larry. She couldn't believe it. Her grandfathers were accusing her of stealing. Usually, they were the only ones who trusted her, and the worst thing was she couldn't open the bag to prove the Symphony of Smells wasn't inside. They would see the magician's notebook. No, the very worst thing was that they were right. She had stolen the Symphony of Smells. But she admitted that she had, and she put it back, which made it borrowing, not stealing. So why did you feel so ashamed? It was all so unfair. Just try and think where you might have put it, said Grandpa Larry. I know you thought it was a game, but it's a very rare and valuable object. She knows that, said Grandpa Wayne. I'm sure she'll find it and put it right back where it was. Nobody mentioned the Symphony of Smells to her again that day, but Cass could tell her grandfathers were thinking about it. At one point, she heard them talking in low voices, speculating that she had broken some of the vials and that she felt too guilty to say anything. If only. As far as Cass was concerned, there could only be one explanation for the Symphony of Smells' disappearance. Dr. L and Miss Morvay had been there. Their scent must have been what upset Sebastian. For a brief, mad moment, Cass considered telling her grandfathers everything that happened at the magician's house, and how she was sure the Symphony of Smells had been stolen by Dr. L and Miss Morvay. But she knew it would sound like she was making up the story just to exonerate herself. Once she solved the mystery of what happened to the magician, maybe then she could confide in them, and maybe then they would trust her again. Should she have confessed all? I will tell you, reader. Be the judge. As experienced as I know you are at plotting and scheming and getting in and out of scrapes, grown-ups can be useful at times. Money and car rides come to mind, but they also have a habit of getting in the way when you want to do something they don't approve of. Cass hardly admitted it to herself, but she was beginning to wish her mother hadn't left town. Before she left, her mother had given Cass her first cell phone, something Cass had wanted for years. So we won't really be apart, her mother had said. Just like she promised, her mother called her every night at 9 p.m. sharp to say good night, even though they both knew Cass never went to sleep before midnight. But Cass felt so much pressure to act like everything was fine that their conversations only made her feel more alone. It was a new sensation missing her mum, and she didn't like it. That night she told her mother she was too sleepy to talk. So, Larry and Wayne are really running you rugged, huh? Asked her mother. Cass forced a laugh she didn't feel. Yeah, totally ragged. After she said a rather abrupt goodbye and turned off her cell phone, Grandpa Larry came into her room. She figured he was going to ask her about the Symphony of Smells again, but but what he said was, "Hurry, they're hot." He placed a plate of chocolate chip cookies and a glass of milk beside her bed. "You better eat them really quickly if you want to burn your tongue and get all the chocolate all over your fingers." Cass laughed and bit into a cookie. It was warm and soft and all the chocolate was still melted, which was, as Grandpa Larry well knew, just how Cass liked her cookies. As she swallowed the last bite, she held up her chocolate-covered hand to show him. I don't know, your other hand still looks pretty clean," he said sternly. Cass felt a little silly, but she obediently grabbed a cookie with the other hand and ate it with even more quickly than the first. "Good. Now make sure you smear chocolate all over your glass. I want evidence." While Cass drank the glass of milk, soothing her burnt tongue, Grandpa Larry moved her backpack aside and sat down on the edge of her bed. Then he proceeded to tell her a story. A year earlier, if someone had baked Cass cookies and tried to tell her a bedtime story, she might have been insulted and felt that she was being treated like a child. Now she was just old enough to enjoy, again, the cosy comforts of a bedtime story. Trust me, the older you get, the more appealing the idea of a bedtime story becomes, and the rarer the chance to hear one. I won't repeat Grandpa Larry's entire story here, because it was what some people call off-topic, but I will try to give you a sense of its general outlines. The story was about a time Larry got separated from his platoon during his stint in the army. The story involved a reed that Larry had pulled out of the ground where it was growing next to a pond. In a single day, Larry used the reed as an underwater breathing device, a fishing pole, a wind instrument, a weapon and a straw. When the reed snapped in two, he was convinced his luck had run out. Without the use of his magic reed, he told himself he would perish. As it turned out, however, the sound of the reed breaking had altered one of the comrades into presence, and he was reunited with the platoon moments later. So you see, breaking the reed wasn't the end of the world, just at the end of the reed. And the end of this story, not to mention the end of these cookies, finished Grandpa Larry, taking the last cookie for himself. Before Cass could respond, Grandpa Wayne, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped into the room. "I don't understand," he said. "There were plenty more uses for that reed, even after you broke it. You could have made splints, toothpicks, chopsticks, a flute, or at least a piccolo. I'm surprised at you, Larry. What happened to your imagination?" "That's not the point, Wayne, and you know it," said Larry, in one of his crossest tones Cass had ever heard him use. "Cass, listen. Doesn't matter about the Symphony of Smells. Whatever happened, it's just a thing. I know you know we like things, and the Symphony of Smells was a nice thing, but, well, if it's gone, it's gone." "Right, we can always make a new one," said Grandpa Wayne, at last catching the message of Larry's story. "In fact, I have an old set of test tubes I found, and I've been wondering what to do with them. We could start collecting scents to put in the tubes." "What we're trying to say is that human beings are more important than things," said Larry, interrupting Wayne. "At least, Cass is more important," Wayne qualified. "Cass, your appearance in our lives has been the greatest gift we could have ever asked for," Larry continued, as if Wayne hadn't spoken. "No matter how many boxes Glory delivers to our doorstep, nothing inside them could match you. We love you very much." As he said this, he put his arms around Cass, and Cass snuggled gratefully against him. "I love you too," she said. But she never said a word about what happened to the Symphony of Smells, or about anything else. Moments later, after her grandfathers had bid her good night, Cass picked up her backpack and placed it, again, by her pillow. Just in case. Now, chapter 11 is called The Magician's Notebook, and I wonder if that means we get to find out any more about what's inside.